The 1950s. The world is on edge as it fears the possibility of a World War III, and the fear of the spread of communism leaves the West in a tizzy of suspicion.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
In Korea after World War II, the North is occupied by Russian troops, the South by Americans. By 1948, the North is wholeheartedly communist, while the South maintains democracy. Here in Canada, Prime Minister Louis Saint Laurent is at work while pop culture rises up to a new level in the Americas. Welcome to the age of the teenage rebel. Never before had the West seen such stars as the legendary and beautiful Marilyn Monroe, nor the smoldering and perpetually disillusioned James Dean. While some were enjoying the age of rock and roll, political tensions had escalated, and others were fighting a war far away from home.
I was in the front line the whole time I was there, and that's exactly what I had joined the Army for. My name is Dan Lafreniere. I'm 82 years old. My buddy and I joined the Army together, and we were together in Korea. I figured I wanted to see some other part of the world. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life just in St. Boniface. I wanted to have a little bit more adventure.
On June 25, 1950, war between the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and South Korea broke out. Communist North Korea was intent on spreading its ideology to South Korea, but the South was also committed to sharing their democratic philosophy. This resulted in a violent war of views. A few days later, U.S. President Truman declares war on North Korea and sends troops led by the polarizing General Douglas MacArthur. This was part of a UN mission to the area, which Canada was a major part of, sending nearly 30,000 troops to fight. More than 26,000 Canadians served in the Korean War. Canada's military contribution was larger than most other UN participants. Some of the heaviest fighting our soldiers experienced in the war took place during the Battle of Kapyong in April 1951.
My name is Bob Nisbet. I was born in Fargo, North Dakota. I was raised in Winnipeg and joined the Army in 1952, and I stayed in for 35 years. The bad thing that my bad experience was that two of the young guys that I went to Korea with, I took my basic training with them, and two of them went to different companies when they split us up, and within a month they were both dead. You know, that hurt. That touched us home.
In late April 1951, the retreating Chinese and North Korean forces regrouped and attacked at the front. The South Korean forces in one area were overwhelmed and hurriedly fell back, putting them in danger of being overrun and wiped out. This is when Canadians saw action in the Battle of Kapyong. At first, the Canadians were surrounded, but they managed to hold out in the face of a much larger force, while inflicting heavy casualties on the opponent and helping the Commonwealth Brigade maintain its position. Another battle which was also central to Canadian forces was the Battle of Hill 355.
A critical position was the Hill 355. You probably heard of that. That's famous because that was one of the highest hills. And the thing with that is the one that held that position could see the enemy for miles around.
On the afternoon of November 23rd, the Canadian Vandues were stormed by the Chinese. When the Americans lost the hill for a time, the Canadians became more exposed to fire from the enemy that was now on the hill.
At the time, scared, very scared. But but you don't have time to think about it. This is it. I was 20 years old, I guess, 19, 20, but you don't think you have a job. Everybody has a job. There's mortars, there's riflemen, there's machine gunners, there's all different jobs. Everybody does their job. You're trained to do your job. Never mind what's going around behind you. If your job is with the mortars, that's what you do.
One of the shots landed just to my left, and the other one landed to my right, but a little further away. And I started running up that hill. Managed to get around without exposing myself, and here was Lieutenant Cormier sitting on a hump or a rock or something, and he had been shot through the mouth. He must have been shouting orders or something, because the bullet went through from the right side, came out on his left side. I got one of my shell dressings, and I cut a section of it so that it was small there and then wide here. And I put this part in his mouth against his cheek. I said, close your teeth, close them together really tight. And then I wrapped the rest of the shell dressing on the outside of his mouth. Bear with me.
The fighting in the cold snow was desperate, but the Canadian troops held their ground until the Americans reclaimed Hill 355 for good. On November 25th, attacks ended.
The fighting was vicious. 37 Manitobans died in Korea, while 516 Canadians died in total. Canada sent 26,000 soldiers.
I can almost, maybe not a nice thing to say, but it was worth it for what the country did. You know, it wasn't wasted. These lives were not wasted.